Okay, folks, God bless you. Welcome to This Is It, 4321. Listen, I'm going to redo the video from yesterday because I keep having computer problems. I wonder what that could be. So I've got a way around it. Joe Biden already told you out of his own mouth, listen to his words. He told you this would mean World War III. He told you not to kid yourself. He literally says, don't make no mistake about it. Do not kid yourself. If there's tanks, planes, trains going to the Ukraine, make no mistake about it. This is World War III. So it is World War III. But I want to show you in today's video what a false flag event is. I want to show you what's already happened in the past. And, I had the Destruction of America DVD up on YouTube a long time ago. Maybe 5-6 million views. And they pulled it. Because what you're going to see in today's video is going to leave your jaw on the ground. You're going to see past the veil, past the puppet show, past the nonsense. Just read my hat. Okay, I'm going to play this video by Joe Biden at least 3 or 4 revolutions. The reason is they're jacking with my audio. I went and re-recorded this to change the codec. I've done some other things to change avenues that the powers that be could come in here and mess with what I'm showing you. It happens over and over again at this channel. It's insane. Just pay attention. If the first round of the video is low in volume, just wait. Yeah, I've been studying what happens, like what is happening, why are my programs doing this, and I've been watching what they're doing, and I've been coming up with ways around it. So if you see me play the same video 3 times in a row for a 1-minute video, but I play it 3 times, it's for a reason. So you can hear it clearly. And so if they're trying to do their little cyber attacks on me, it doesn't work. Because they did it on the last video again. And I'm tired of reels ending up in the dumpster. So pay attention, guys. Here we go. Well, just watch the lunatic, what he says. Here we go. We're going to do a couple of these. Okay, here's the video from yesterday. This is what Biden said on March 11th, 2022, right here. This is what he said. And then you're going to side by side right here. You're going to see what he said just recently. Please pay attention. I'm going to play it through 3 times.
That we're going to send in offensive equipment and have planes and tanks and trains going in with American pilots and American crews. Just understand, and don't kid yourself, no matter what you all say. That's called World War III. And today I'm announcing that the United States will be sending 31 Abrams tanks to Ukraine, the equivalent of 1 Ukrainian battalion. The idea that we're going to send in offensive equipment and have planes and tanks and trains going in with American pilots and American crews, just understand, and don't kid yourself, no matter what you all say. That's called World War III. And today I'm announcing that the United States will be sending 31 Abrams tanks to Ukraine, the equivalent of 1 Ukrainian battalion. The idea that we're going to send in offensive equipment and have planes and tanks and trains going in with American pilots and American crews, just understand, and don't kid yourself, no matter what you all say. That's called World War III.
No shit, Sherlock.
And today I'm announcing that the United States will be sending 31 Abrams tanks to Ukraine.
Thanks for
the
announcing
equivalent
that.
of 1 Ukrainian battalion. The idea that we're going to send in offensive...
Thank you for announcing World War III for everybody without even knowing it, genius. Okay, anyway, so now there's the point. So I'm making a point. So he said, no matter what, don't kid yourself. Make no mistake about it, no matter what you say. Sending in tanks, planes, or trains. Didn't he just send in a bunch of tanks? So that means make no mistake about it, that's World War III. We already know that, right? Do y'all know what's going on with this balloon? See, the thing is, they've already front-loaded you so bad that here comes the next 9/11 event. A false flag. It's a false flag. They've already set the stage. This big bad guy named Putin's got a radioactive tsunami nuke that will nuke the East Coast and take it out. It's printed on your money. That event is printed on your money. I showed it to the FBI in 2016. I showed them the $100, 2014. I showed them the $100 bill that shows New York being destroyed by nukes, printed on the U.S. currency notes, on the $100 bills. I showed it to them in 2014 when the bill came out. The Lord told me to go to them and show it to them. I literally had an FBI agent going, what should we do? The other guy looked like he wanted to kill me. I told the guy that was going, what would you do? I said, you're the FBI, I'm the delivery boy. I just delivered it to you. Let me show you what else I delivered to them so they could believe what I was showing them was accurate. I had to go in there and show them, look, what you're going to see is going to be hard to see and understand, but you're going to see it, you're going to wrestle with it, and you're going to have to deal with it. Same goes right now for everybody. I'm going to show you what a false flag is first. You know what? Let's watch Klaus Schwab set up the false flag first. Let's watch Klaus Schwab. Get you ready. Let's let him front load everybody first. Let's do that video. Let's watch Klaus set everybody up. Okay, Klaus, here we go. Now, it starts at the 30-second mark, and because of these weird program attacks, what I'm going to do is I'm going to play it one time. I'm going to take the cursor and go back to 30 seconds, play it again. I'm going to drag the cursor back to 30 seconds and play it again. You're going to hear it 3 times in order for me to overcome the cyber attacks on my audio and on my equipment. So bear with me. Hearing it 3 times is just going to reinforce what he said. And when the cyber attack comes, it won't work. Okay, so here we go. Ready? Let me get up to where I can see the timeline. There we go. Okay, let's go.
So people assume we are just going back to the good old world which we had and everything will be normal again. This is, let's say, fiction. It will not happen.
There is only one way this pandemic is going to go. It's going to get worse and worse and worse.
Pay insufficient attention to the frightening scenario of a comprehensive cyber attack, which would bring to a complete halt to the power supply, transportation, hospital services, our society as a whole. The COVID-19 crisis would be seen in this respect as a small disturbance in comparison to a major cyber attack. The need for a great reset. So people assume we are just going back to the good old world which we had and everything will be normal again. This is, let's say, fiction. It will not happen.
There is only one way this pandemic is going to go. It's going to get worse and worse and worse.
Pay insufficient attention to the frightening scenario of a comprehensive cyber attack, which would bring to a complete halt to the power supply, transportation, hospital services, our society as a whole. The COVID-19 crisis would be seen in this respect as a small disturbance in comparison to a major cyber attack. So people assume we are just going back to the good old world which we had and everything will be normal again. This is, let's say, fiction. It will not happen.
There is only one way this pandemic is going to go. It's going to get worse and worse and worse.
Pay insufficient attention to the frightening scenario of a comprehensive cyber attack, which would bring to a complete halt to the power supply, transportation, hospital services, our society as a whole. The COVID-19 crisis would be seen in this respect as a small disturbance in comparison to a major cyber attack.
Speaking of things I can't unsee, I keep seeing these videos of Klaus Schwab from the world.
Speaking of things I can't unsee, you just saw one I can't unsee. Anyway. Okay, so people pay insufficient attention to the reality of a cyber attack. He's just calling it out. Ooh, isn't that crazy? There's a mysterious Chinese balloon, and it's not a greeting, it's not a Valentine to Eric Swalwell from Fang Fang. I mean, it's just, this is absurd. Okay, so they're front-loading everybody with a big Chinese spy balloon going over the U.S., looking for all the nuclear missile silos so they can EMP the U.S., you know, make all the lights go out. You think they got that on the slate? Duh. Listen, the bombing of the Twin Towers was printed on your $20 bill. I'm going to pause this. I'm going to grab my bills. I'm going to show them to you on the screen. I want you to see this because the new destructions that are coming, that they've already planned, that they already tell you they're going to do right in front of you, because they're telling you a cyber attack's going to make COVID look like nothing. We've already planned it. They got it. Okay, so if you will just give me your attention for a few minutes, let me show you what I showed the FBI. And watch an FBI agent freak out. So that means you should freak out. Because he had to grapple with the reality of what I'm showing him. What I was showing him was the absolute truth. And he couldn't deal with it. Because it's an overload to try and solve the issue. Because this is more like a scene from the movie The Fallen with Denzel Washington, where that spiritual being just goes from one to the next and orchestrates everything he's doing, the divining serpent. So just stay with me. Let me get these bills up. Let me show you. Just watch this. Okay, so now what I'm going to show you and what I'm going to bring up on this computer that I showed the FBI again is the bombings of all the buildings in the United States. This is the same thing I told them. I'm going to show you every bombing that's happened, the federal building bombing in Oklahoma City. I'm going to show it to you blowing up and blown in half. I'm going to show you an identical image of that on the U.S. currency. I'm going to show you the Twin Towers blowing up. I'm going to show you the Pentagon blowing up. All on U.S. currency notes. Different currency notes have different images on the back. And the reason they have different images is because, you see that image? That makes the Twin Tower bombing. You see that very different image? Look. You see the very different image on the bottom? That image right there makes the federal building bombing. Exactly. This is not arguable. There is no debate on this. This is what it is. So if you're printing the back of a U.S. currency note with certain artwork, and when you make a pentagram out of that artwork, then it turns into the sigil of Baphomet. All you have to do is connect the vertices. So for the record, I am making a record, like this is a record. There is an image made from this $20 bill. This one right here. I want you to look at the trees. Look at the tree here. Look at the tree right here. And then look at the tree over here. Okay, you see that tree? That is not the way you would make a tree as an artist. The trunk should be there. The tree should be as high as it is wide. It's a lopsided tree. That one's even worse. So the reason they made the bill look like that is so when you fold it in a pentagram shape, it turns into the Twin Tower bombing. Now, all we have to do is move the bill and connect the vertices, and there's the Church of Satan. So I just showed you the $20 bill has the Twin Towers on it, but I'm going to turn the bill over right in front of you. Look, there's the bill, Twin Towers, there's the Pentagon. Now, I'm going to show you these on the computer enhanced with the buildings alongside. So we can go, doot, 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 doot. It's a match. I'm going to show you that. I'm going to give the same presentation. Here you go. What's on the side of this one? Well, the same day the Pentagon was attacked. Wow, what's the Pentagon doing on this bill? So on this $120 note made in 1996. 1996? Well, it means when they made the note and they changed the bills, so they changed the artwork from that, which wouldn't make the Twin Tower bombing on that. This made an image of the federal building bombing in Oklahoma City when you fold that one in the pentagram shape. And when you turn the bill over, it shows the building blown in half with the floor sticking out. Okay, this is a no-brainer. Look, guys, just a little background. I went to Texas A&M to start my college. I went to 3 years of high school, and I graduated in 3 years because I thought I was smart and accelerated, and I went off to A&M to do engineering. It was a stark awakening for me in engineering at Texas A&M. But the point is, I have a background that's at least scientific. I know how to use scientific method and have my hypothesis and gather my data and come to my conclusion. This isn't even remotely arguable. There's no argument. This bill was designed to reflect the bombing of the federal building in Oklahoma City when it's made into a pentagram, which is the Church of Satan. Who do you think's running the government in the U.S.? Do you think it's God? Well, there's only two choices. Either the Lord God is running the government or Satan is. Who's running it? I mean, as per your, like you watch all the stuff going on. Let me ask you a question. Do they lie all the time, every day? Alan Schiff, Swalwell, James Comey, Brennan, all of them, Andy McCabe, all of them, they're liars. Barack, sorry, y'all are liars. Well, the Bible says, when you lie, it is consistent with your character because you are of your father, the devil, Satan. He is a liar and the father of it. He was a murderer from the beginning. So did you know when you're a liar, you're literally murdering yourself because you are truth and lies in the same host body, up and down, light and dark. And when you lie, you're murdering yourself. That was the first thing the Lord told me when he said me, 100% no lying. To receive truth, you have to speak truth. So if you're a liar, don't lie anymore and see what happens. Say, I repent of lying. I'll never lie again, even if it means my ass. Do it. Try it. Federal building bombing, Oklahoma City, Old 20. Pentagon and Twin Towers. There's the Twin Towers. Same bill. There's the Pentagon bombing. Okay, do you know that according to the laws of large numbers and statistics and probabilities with everything I'm showing you, do you know that this is 100% impossible? That this bill would make the federal building bombing in Oklahoma City. Blowing up and blown in half. And this bill right here, this would make the Twin Towers and the Pentagon when made into a pentagram like the Church of Satan. Do you understand that's not even possible? It's not possible. Now, what's about to happen to the U.S. with their balloons and sending tanks is the same thing as all this nonsense. This was bullshit. This was complete bullshit. Do you think there's really a guy named Osama bin Laden that is going from place to place with impunity, never being apprehended by the most sophisticated reconnaissance in the world? I mean, are you kidding? Let me show you how all this was done. It's insanity. It's called a false flag. Let me give you the definition. You need to know what the definition of a false flag is. So let's look at the definition real quick. A false flag, okay. A false flag operation is an act committed with the intent of disguising the actual source of responsibility and pinning the blame on another party. Okay, so let's just, very tactically look at that. So it's having an event and pinning the responsibility on someone else. Who was pinned for the Twin Towers and all 9/11? It was some guy named Osama bin Laden, and I'm going to show you James Corbett report right after this, so you can see the insanity that they would even try to tell you it was a bunch of terrorists. It's so stupid, it's ridiculous. Ready? You see that? Is it printed on the U.S. currency note? It's going to be a yes or no answer. Okay, well, so now let's explore whether or not these images that some guy named Jonathan Kleck is showing you, and by the way, nobody showed this to me. The Lord whom I serve showed it to me. The same Lord that I serve that showed the whole world the Vatican is built in the shape of a snake. I would ask you, yes or no, is the Vatican a snake? It's a yes or no. There is the head of the snake. There is a serpent wearing a blue crown. Green serpent head, there's his mouth. Eye. It's like an adder, like a poisonous serpent wearing a crown. Okay, well, if you don't believe that this image is a serpent wearing a crown, let's go behind the crown. And when you go behind the crown, oh my God, there just happens to be a sidewalk that makes a split tongue. What a coincidence. Oh my gosh. Okay, now we're done with all the statistics and probabilities. It's not even possible. Now let's look at the building alongside. That's pretty telling. But then let's take a look at it next to the head of this serpent. And then when you go inside the damn building, the Pope stands in between a set of freaking fangs. End of story. Okay, it's proven. This guy named Jonathan Kleck just proved it. There's no conjecture. I gave you facts. Go look inside the building. It's all over Google Images, and I'm one of the people that posted a lot of those images. Okay, so now we've established the Vatican's a snake. The building alongside of it is a snake. That's a little bit of a problem because the building that's a snake is a religious organization that claims to be Jesus' mouthpiece here on earth, when in reality, it's the serpent's mouthpiece here on earth. That's a little bit of a problem. So now the same guy that showed you that just now, and I told you the way in which I showed it to you is because I serve the Most High God. By the way, my name Jonathan means Yahweh has given. Kleck means a messenger that gathers the church and pretty much rats out, rings the bell. Rings the bell, gathers the church. Right now I'm ringing the bell. Hey guys, listen up. Ding, 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 ding. A town crier. Hear ye, hear ye. Thus saith the king. That's what a town crier does. Kleck means a town crier. Jonathan means Yahweh is given. I wonder what the odds are on that. Probably nothing. Anyway, just going to show you. So there's a snake. So there's two snakes. That's parthenogenesis, which is a reptile form of procreation. Okay, let me help you out real quick. A reptile form of procreation starting the human host body. That could be a little bit of a problem. You might want to call Giorgio Sakopoulos, tell him to get, some stuff going on in his hair and do a segment on it. I've already contacted him. But they don't seem to be interested in knowing what's on these hieroglyphs. They seem to be more interested in making, is it possible, ancient aliens? Then none of that shit even matters. Okay, here we go. I'm just going to say it like it is today, guys. So let's look at the Twin Tower bomb. Let's look at the Twin Towers, yes or no? Okay, so here is a side view of the Statue of Liberty alongside the Twin Towers, which are really two big standing DNA markers. We can get into that later, but let's just get into it. It's twins. It represents Cain and Abel, Cainable. The system's cannibalistic. Now let me show you on the U.S. currency. I photographed, there you go. There's a photograph of what I just got through showing you. And there's the Twin Towers bombing. Some people may be skeptics and go, oh, I don't know about that, Johnny. Okay, well, let me just show you a day in the life of the September 11th attacks right here. It says there were 2,977 people were killed, and I know the way they do things, and when they're plugging that number in the Bible, 2977, in the Bible, if you say Strong's 2977, it means to be done in secret privately, because all of us that are being internally murdered by that race of serpent beings, it's being done in private because you're in a twin system. There's a serpent being and a sheep inside of you, and that serpent is murdering the sheep. Cain and Abel. Cain was a child of the serpent race. Abel was a child of the Adamic race. You got the Adamic race and the serpent race in the same host body, and the serpent race is washing out the Adamic race over the course of time. End of story. I've proven it over and over and over again, and I'm just going to slam it now because enough's enough. They're caught. They're caught. Ready? Okay, so here's the Twin Towers on the U.S. currency. Here's the actual Twin Towers behind the image of the U.S. currency. Wow, the explosions are in the identical locations. I wonder what the odds of that are. Oh, it's probably just a coincidence. Or you can join the Klexa False Prophet team and buy yourself a ticket to the pit, because there are a lot of them out. Here you go. Ready? Before you make that assumption and make that critical error, is that the head of a snake? It's a yes or no. Okay, there you go. There's your serpent. The one that showed it to me is the Lord God whom I serve. Now I just showed you that there they are, same locations on the bombings. Now let's go to right here, the Arch of Washington, because this is about the destruction of the temple. The human host body is represented by two twin DNAs, Cain and Abel, seed of the serpent, seed of the woman, whatever you want. It's two separate seeds, two different DNAs growing alongside each other, but the powers that be that run the whole show, they're going to make a big display of burning them up right under the Arch of Washington. The Arch of Washington just happens to be a replica of the Arch of Titus, which was built in commemoration of Titus destroying the temple in Jerusalem. The temple in Jerusalem. Titus, Arch of Titus. So the guys that run the Federal Reserve, they serve condemnation on all these properties so they could build the Twin Towers right there, right under the arch. Look at the Rockefellers. They're the ones that did it. And they built the Twin Towers so you could see them right under the arch as like a big witchcraft ceremony of killing all these people while the Twin Towers are burning under the arch. That is a representation of the temple in Jerusalem being destroyed. And it just happens that those Twin Towers represent DNAs. Two different DNAs. Destruction of the temple. Our temple. Host body. Do you get it? We're burning down the twin system and we're starting the new One World Freedom Tower. Oh, you know that new race of beings where we're going to genetically edit everybody and we're all going to be Asuvas. Now what they're going to be doing, that's be different. It's you that will be different. Let me show you what I'm talking about. Let me just keep going. We'll get right back to these, but just a minute.
One of the features of this fourth industrial revolution is that it doesn't change what we are doing, but it changes us. The features of this fourth industrial revolution is that it doesn't change what we are doing, but it changes us.
The difference of this fourth industrial revolution is it doesn't change what you are doing, it changes you. If you take genetic editing, right. Just as an example, it's you who are changed, and of course this has a big impact on your identity.
It's the need for a great reset. So people assume we are just going back to the good old world which we had, and everything will be normal again. This is, let's say, fiction. It will not happen.
There is only one way this pandemic is going to go. It's going to get worse and worse and worse.
Pay insufficient attention to the frightening scenario of a comprehensive cyber attack, which would bring to a complete halt to the power supply, transportation, hospital services, our society as a whole. The COVID-19 crisis would be seen in this respect as a small disturbance in comparison to a major cyber attack.
There's an attack for you. Okay.
Speaking of things I can't unsee, I keep seeing these.
Okay, so yeah, so COVID-19 would be a little nothing burger compared to a comprehensive cyber attack. Oh, everybody, there's these balloons going over the United States. Oh, yeah, we couldn't decide whether or not we should destroy it or not. But if we plant it in your heads that you know there was a balloon, then you'll think China's going to do a cyber attack, you know, like an EMP. Do y'all know what an EMP is? You detonate a nuke at a high altitude, and then that fallout destroys all electronics. That's what an EMP is. It's the detonation of a nuke, as I understand it, at a high altitude, and it leaves all electronics fried. A comprehensive cyber attack. What's with the balloon? Why are you telling everybody? Usually if they don't want people to know what's going on, which they don't. And if you think they're telling you because they want you to just be in the know, then you're a lunatic. They're telling you because they're front-loading you because it has something to do with their plans. Otherwise, they wouldn't freaking tell you. Did you know the day that this happened, the day that that happened, they just happened to be running a drill that if planes were to fly into buildings in downtown New York, yeah. So they conveniently turn off the missile systems and all the radar that could possibly shoot down any airplane that would be doing such an attack. And it just happened to be turned off at the Pentagon the same freaking day. Thank you, Donald Rumsfeld. I think it was either Cheney or Rumsfeld. One of those guys, yeah, let's turn it off today. That's convenient, especially since they both got blown up on that exact same day. But don't people pay insufficient attention to the real possibility of a cyber attack? It's like, it's embarrassing. When you know what they're doing, it's embarrassing. I'm embarrassed for them. They're just deceivers, which makes them children of Satan. Okay, here we go. So let's get back to this. Let's get back to our money, the U.S. currency. Now let me show you this. You see that arch, the Arch of Washington that represents, which represents the Arch of Titus, which was built as a commemorative arch celebrating Titus's victory over Jerusalem and destroying the temple in Jerusalem. You see those two twin towers? Those represent the human host body temple with two different DNAs. That's what it is, like Cain and Abel. But the whole system is cannibalistic. That's why there's a serpent eating its own tail. And that picture I just showed you represents the host body system. That's why George Bush read Psalm 23. 23 chromosomes from one, donated from one parent, 23 from the other, like seed of the serpent, seed of the woman. Okay, 23 and 23 together makes 46. So they burn up the twin towers, showing that the system, the human host body system, has burned up all that twin energy. There's no more male energy in the system. I know I told you Cain and Abel, but you got to understand that the system is two different energies, one that gives, one that receives. Okay, and we'll go over that in another video if you haven't already seen it. But anyway, so the system has been depleted. Now they're moving into a new host body system, as illustrated by the One World Freedom Tower. We remember, we rebuild, we come back stronger. Who's we? Who's we? It's from the flood of Noah is who we is. It's an entity. It's another race of beings. We remember, we rebuild, we come back stronger, and they've come back stronger. Now they've got their new host body because the goal was to mix man with something else to get your transhuman in, and I'm sure you can figure out what that was. And that's a no-brainer. Anyway, so now that's been accomplished. Okay, so now it's time for, let's see, the white horse was to tie everything together. You know, he went out conquering with a bow. The word bow does not mean bow and arrow. It means a bow like you tied your shoe. That's what the word bow means in the Bible. It says the simplest form of fabric. That's what the word bow translates as. And they tied together two different things. Well, you know, you put the same thing in this and this, and then all you need is a little modem to make them come online. It's a no-brainer now. It's a no-brainer. It doesn't require a brain. Just like everything I'm going to show you. I'm showing you images that are bombings of these towers printed on the U.S. currency. I showed them to the FBI. One guy freaked out. What do we do? What do we do? The other guy looked like he wanted to kill me. I wonder who could have been who. It's like the movie The Fallen. Okay, here we go. Let's go back to it. Okay, there's a $20 bill. You see that Twin Tower bombing under the arch? There's the Twin Towers. There the Twin Towers are burning under the arch. So if you were standing there during 9/11, you could have looked right through this arch and watched these things burn to the ground, representing the host body system burning to the ground. That's why the other side view of that is the Statue of Liberty standing there and alongside of the Twin Towers. She represents the angels that took the liberty to take on host bodies. And so the twin system represents the host body that you took. That's why you're in it. That's why you're here. That's what life's about. Here we go. Let's go back. So now, have we established clearly that the Twin Towers were built to represent something much bigger than just two towers? Two twin DNAs coming together as one. I put the DNA spirals here and I made them come together as one because after the twins burned down, what came next? The One World Freedom Tower, which looks like amino acids. If you've ever been in biochemistry in those classes, and chemistry and biology, which I have at A&M, the amino acids, adenine, thymine, guanine, cytosine, the way they put them together, it just looks like they took an amino acid and stood it straight up. That's what the One World Freedom Tower looks like, is the intersection of the amino acids. So now they did the one world. So no longer twin buildings, one. Remember Noah Harari, psychopath? Klaus Schwab's buddy? Those days are over. Believing there's some God above the clouds? Those days are over. Free will? Those days are over. See, that's what they're trying to take away from you is your free will. That's what they want. That's the one thing they want is your free will. They're coming for it. Okay, now, let me just prove all this out. Joe Biden announced World War III a year ago. And the other day when he made that little speech, okay, we're sending them the tanks. Well, wait, Joe, didn't you just say, right, didn't you say, make no mistake, don't fool yourself, this is guaranteed World War III. He guaranteed it. He just did it. So he's guaranteeing World War III, right? Is there any way out of taking the words he said and matching them and saying, well, that's a no-brainer. You just said it. Okay, now there's a mysterious balloon. Who in the hell would let that balloon go over their country? But if you want plausible deniability and you need an invisible boogeyman to blame it on, well, then you have a balloon. Oh, well, that was the Chinese. Oh, my God. And then, so when the cyber attack goes off, don't be mad at us. Well, even though a lot of this stuff's printed on our money, we got to find somebody else to blame it on. Let's go back to false flag. Let's go back to false flag. A false flag operation is an act committed with the intent of disguising the actual source of responsibility and pinning the blame on another party. Is it printed on your money? It's a yes or no. So who's responsible for printing this on the money? See, that's where the head scratcher comes in. It's Satan using the humans as puppets. That's where it comes in. So there's no one guy to grab because the guys that carved the linoleum plates had to somehow be in cahoots with the building architects and the demolition guys. It's a real head scratcher. But when you understand Satan's using everyone as puppets because you're half asleep, then you know how it happened. So there it is. Who did they blame? Who did they blame? Osama bin Laden. Osama bin Laden. You can believe that. There he is. So now I'm going to play you James Corbett, 9/11 in 5 minutes. I'm just going to try and open up your whole brain because the end is here, guys. This is World War III. It's coming. We're at the door. They're getting ready just to pull the trigger. Nuclear tidal wave taking out East Coast. They're here. It's printed on your new bills. The old bills contain those bombings, don't they? Well, the new bills contain radioactive tidal waves. What a coincidence. How weird is that? And the new $100 bill just happens to contain New York being destroyed by nukes. And when I show you the 3 layers of ink again, you're going to do what the FBI agent did. Yeah. So, because he knew all this was accurate, but his compatriot looked like he may have been on the other team. He looked like he wanted to kill me. I was surprised. Why aren't you acting like this guy? Like you should be acting. You should be going, good. How did you do this? That's the right reaction. That's the wrong reaction. It's like a freaking no-brainer. Okay, here we go. A false flag operation is an act committed with the intent of disguising the actual source of responsibility and pinning the blame on another party. The term false flag originated in the 16th century as an expression meaning an intentional misrepresentation of someone's allegiance. Do you think your government's on your team these days? The term was famously used to describe a ruse, in naval warfare whereby the vessel flew the flag of a neutral or enemy country in order to hide its true identity. So, I wonder what the identity is of Biden and Barack. What are they really? Could it be Satan? Well, they're liars. The Bible says if you're a liar, you're a child of Satan. Those guys are professional liars. So, by virtue of the fact that I know the Bible's 100% true, that would make them children of Satan, which are liars. Okay, so let's say we've established that pretty good. Okay, now let's watch the Corbett report in 5 minutes. So you'll see the absurdity to try and tell us that Osama bin Laden bombed the Twin Towers when Building 7 didn't get hit by any plane, but it just fell in its own footprint. Stop and think about that. If they tried to tell you, well, we decided to blow it up, what did you guys go set charges on every single floor? See, they totally effed up. They were even on the news saying Building 7 has fallen, and behind the newscaster, Building 7 was still standing there. And the newscaster was going, and Building 7 has fallen. Live! But Building 7 was up! It's insanity. So, see, we're up against the deceivers. It's a race of beings. Deceivers. And they have you under a hypnotic, until you turn 180 degrees. You got to turn the opposite direction from lies, any of that stuff. You got to do it. Just turn the world upside down. Go to my other videos. Go to clickfiles.com. You'll see what I'm saying. Okay, here we go. So let's watch the Corbett report. Now, again, big props to James Corbett. I love the guy. He's very intelligent, very nice, very kind-hearted person. Thank you for letting me show people your video. Listen to the words. It's a parody. It is... The absurdity shows you how absurd it is. And one of the hijackers' passports fell like on the streets of New York, if you can believe that. So one of the hijackers that stole a 737, and flew it into a building, even though he can't handle a Cessna. They happened to fly 2 planes into 2 buildings. And somehow his passport magically floated down from the impact of a plane into a Twin Tower, and his passport happened to float down and land on the street. Dude, drag whoever said that outside and just beat them within an inch of their life. That's retarded, insane, stupid, just ridiculous. It's not even in the realm of reality. But they said it. Oh, wow. Okay. So here you go. Pay attention. There we go.
On the morning of September 11th, 2001, 19 men armed with box cutters, directed by a man on dialysis in a cave fortress halfway around the world using a satellite phone and a laptop, directed the most sophisticated penetration of the most heavily defended airspace in the world, overpowering the passengers and the military combat-trained pilots on 4 commercial aircraft before flying those planes wildly off course for over an hour without being molested by a single fighter interceptor. These 19 hijackers, devout religious fundamentalists who like to drink alcohol, snort cocaine, and live with pink-haired strippers, managed to knock down 3 buildings with 2 planes in New York, while in Washington, a pilot who couldn't handle a single-engine Cessna was able to fly a 757 in an 8,000-foot descending 270-degree corkscrew turn to come exactly level with the ground, hitting the Pentagon in the budget analyst office where DoD staffers were working on the mystery of the $2.3 trillion that Defense Secretary Donald Rumsfeld had announced missing from the Pentagon's coffers in a press conference the day before, on September 10th, 2001. Luckily, the news anchors knew who did it within minutes.
Osama bin Laden.
The pundits knew within hours.
Osama bin Laden.
The administration knew within the day.
Terrorists who committed these acts and those who harbored them.
And the evidence literally fell into the FBI's lap.
That a hijacker's passport was found blocks from the World Trade Center crash site, if you can believe that.
But for some reason, a bunch of crazy conspiracy theorists demanded an investigation into the greatest attack on American soil in history. That investigation was delayed, underfunded, set up to fail, a conflict of interest, and a cover-up from start to finish. It was based on testimony extracted through torture, the records of which were destroyed. It failed to mention the existence of WTC-7, Able Danger, P-TECH, Sibel Edmonds, OBL and the CIA, and the drills of hijacked aircraft being flown into buildings that were being simulated at the precise same time that those events were actually happening. It was lied to by the Pentagon, the CIA, the Bush administration, And as for Bush and Cheney, well, no one knows what they told it because they testified in secret, off the record, not under oath, and behind closed doors. It didn't bother to look at who funded the attacks because that question is ultimately of little practical significance. Still, the 9/11 Commission did brilliantly answering all of the questions the public had, except most of the victims' family members' questions, and pinned blame on all the people responsible, although no one so much as lost their job, determining the attacks were
failure of imagination.
Because
Nobody in our government, at least, and I don't think the prior government that could envision flying airplanes into buildings.
Except the Pentagon, FEMA, NORAD, and the NRO. The DIA destroyed 2.5 terabytes of data on Able Danger, but that's okay because it probably wasn't important. The SEC destroyed their records on the investigation into the insider trading before the attacks, but that's okay because destroying the records of the largest investigation in SEC history is just part of routine record keeping. NIST has classified the data that they used for their model of WTC7's collapse, but that's okay because knowing how they made their model of the collapse would jeopardize public safety. The FBI has argued that all material related to their investigation of 9/11 should be kept secret from the public, but that's okay because the FBI probably has nothing to hide. This man never existed, nor is anything he had to say worthy of your attention, and if you say otherwise, you are a paranoid conspiracy theorist and deserve to be shunned by all of humanity. Likewise him, and her. And her, and him. Osama bin Laden lived in a cave fortress in the hills of Afghanistan, but somehow got away. Then he was hiding out in Tora Bora, but somehow got away. Then he lived in Abbottabad for years, taunting the most comprehensive intelligence dragnet employing the most sophisticated technology in the history of the world for a decade, releasing video after video with complete impunity and getting younger and younger as he did so, before finally being found in a daring SEAL team raid which wasn't recorded on video, in which he didn't resist or use his wife as a human shield, and in which these crack special forces operatives panicked and killed this unarmed man, supposedly the best source of intelligence about those dastardly terrorists on the entire planet. Then they dumped his body in the ocean before telling anyone about it. Then a couple dozen of that team's members died in a helicopter crash in Afghanistan. This is the story of 9/11, brought to you by the media which told you the hard truths about
his head could be seen to move violently forward.
And
they took the babies out of the incubators.
And
mobile production facilities.
And
the rescue of Jessica Lynch.
If you have any questions about this story, you are a batshit paranoid tinfoil dog-abusing baby hater and will be reviled by everyone. If you love your country and or freedom, happiness, rainbows, rock and roll, puppy dogs, apple pie, and your grandma, you will never ever express doubts about any part of this story to anyone. Ever. This is one. Luckily, the news anchors knew who did it within minutes.
Osama bin Laden.
The pundits knew within hours.
Osama bin Laden.
The administration knew within the day.
Terrorists who committed these acts and those who harbor them.
Okay, so what's a false flag again? A false flag operation is an act committed with the intent of disguising the actual source of responsibility and pinning it or blaming it on another party. You know, like bombing the Twin Towers that's already printed on your damn money and blaming it on some fake terrorist named Osama. I'm not saying he's not a real person. I'm not saying he's not a terrorist. But he was the fake bad guy. He didn't do it. He didn't orchestrate it. It was already printed on your money. That's the part that's a little bit of a head scratcher. So, the term false flag originated in the 16th century as an expression meaning an intentional misrepresentation of someone's allegiance. The term was famously used to describe a ruse in naval warfare whereby a vessel flew the flag of a neutral or enemy country in order to hide its true identity. Okay, you ready? Now here I'm just going to drop the bomb on reality. We are living among a serpent race, and we are the serpent race. That's what getting converted by Christ is really all about. The serpent race runs the show, runs the world, and see, we're the sheep, but see, our souls are trapped within the host body. That's why Jesus came. Because he wanted to reconcile the sheep part and the serpent part back to him, one body, to making your sins disappear because they're owned by the angel of the bottomless pit, which owns the host body system. I'm going to go into that in the next video. I'm going to give you all the proof. I'm going to show you all the methodology, the method in which they do it, spirit cooking, all of it. It's all real. I'm going to show it all to you again, but I'm just telling you, this stuff I'm showing you. 9/11 was contrived by Satan using host body system as a bunch of puppets in order to accomplish his agenda, which is the rolling in of his kingdom here on earth. The Twin Towers represented the two races that were melded together, and they burned up, so they burned them down because they've consumed the energy within the system, and they're putting up a new One World Freedom Tower representing the new host body system that will take over, which is the miry clay mixed with iron mentioned in Daniel 2:43, the iron mixed with the miry clay. That's what they happen to give everybody because they needed to get that so they could join everything together once they put the modem in your hand, which is called the mark of the beast in the story, okay? Now, this is a no-brainer. It doesn't require intellectual thought. The Vatican is a snake. It's a snake. It's a serpent. Okay, the bombings are on your money. Now, let me show you what's going on with the spy balloon. Tanks going to Ukraine. They're front-loading you because they're getting ready for the next false flag. The next false flags are already printed on our money. There is the nuclear tidal wave. You know what? Let me go show you the old $10 bill. Because if I took the old $10 bill and I tried to show you a tidal wave, it wouldn't work. It wouldn't show you one. The old $10 bill, when you fold it up, shows a continuation of the bombing of the Twin Towers. It's like the second phase of it falling. And then the $5 bill shows it all the way to down to the ground, burned down. So it's a series, hit, burning, burned. But let's just go to this. You see that? You see the wave coming over the 7-story building right there? Let me prove it. They changed the bill. This is the new one that they came out with. It's orange. Out of the sea shall come fire and smoke and a devouring wind. Water as high as the walls of Jerusalem will cover the city by the sea. There's the water covering the city by the sea printed on your $10 bill. Okay, here we go. Ready? Let's go look at it. So just go to Google Images. Bam. Google Images. Older $10 bill. Okay, here we go. Oh, the older $10 bill. Here we go. So if we go to, that's the, I believe the really, yeah, that's the really old one. Here's the one before this one. So let's go to the one before this one. Here it is. Ready? See if we can go to the back. Okay, you know what? I'm going to hit there. Hang on one sec. Okay, so pay attention. You ready? Right here. I want you to look at this $10 bill right here. You see the line going around here? See that line? Follow my cursor going around the oval. See the line all the way? Well, that line goes right here. This is what makes the wave when you fold the bill. If you had this line right here on top of that wave, it would destroy it from looking like a wave. That bill is not orange either. So they changed the color of the bill to orange. Gee, wonder what orange is. I wonder if radioactivity could be maybe delineated by orange or ink, like making it orange. Yeah, a nuclear tidal wave. There it is on your $10 bill. But see, they had to take off that double line. So they came out with a new $10 bill because the bills are like talismans, spells to show you who's running things. Okay, ready? Here's the new $10 bill. Ready? Here's the new one. Let's go. You see the line right here? Where's the line? You see how they fluffed up the ink? See the ink? They fluffed it up. See it? Like a wave. Look at the ink. They fluffed it up and they took off the double line. Okay, sorry. Identified. So if they're telling you that Fang's balloon is coming over, Eric Swalwell, you know what? You guys, they should just, when everything goes down, have you guys go out and talk to the public. That would be a good one. This is coming. It's coming. It's on your money. The Twin Towers were printed on your money, and did that happen? Look, did that happen? It happened. Did the Pentagon happen? Happened the same day. What about the federal building? Did the federal building blow up? It sure did. So everything that's printed on these bills happens. What's printed on the bills now? Tidal wave hit New York. New York being destroyed by nukes. Let me show you that just to make sure. So they changed the $10 bill. Well, they've also come out with some new bills. So the $10 bill shows the tidal wave now. It's orange for radiation, and then they took off the line, and when they took off the line, this makes it into a wave. Get it? So here we go. Now let's go to the other U.S. currency notes. Let me show you what's going on. Now remember, here's the Arch of Titus, which is a replica. This is the Arch of Washington, which is a replica of the Arch of Titus. George Washington's standing on there, and it has him with his hand like the master of the third, I think it's the third veil, no, from behind the veil, and it says Exitus Acta Probat right behind him. Do you know what that means? Exitus Acta Probat in Latin? The outcome justifies the deed. You know what the outcome is? Their one world new race of beings justifies the deed, burning down the Twin Towers with all the people and dragging the angels into the system to use them as fodder for their new race. See, that's what life is all about. If you don't get converted by Jesus, you become food for their new race. This is a science fiction. See, people never understood the Bible is more of a science fiction story than they could even wrap their brains around. But that's exactly what it is. It's two different races of beings. Okay, now, look at that image. Look at that. Okay, so let me show you a little front loading they did for you for what's coming. So here's a little front loading for you from one of their movies. Oh, what? That's in a movie? It sure is. They wanted to make sure they showed a tidal wave or a tsunami wiping out the Arch of Washington. I wonder what the odds are of that, since I just was holding that exact thing in my hand, same as the Twin Towers and the Pentagon bombing. You know, the Arch. There you go. What's the difference? It's all the same damn thing. They've gotten redundant, and that's one reason they're so caught. It's because the Lord taught me how to read their crap. I'm getting kind of tired of it, to be honest, but here you go. Let me show you this. So let me just prove to you. Ready? Here's the Twin Tower bombing on one $20 bill. See it? Here's the Federal Building. Look very closely at this one. That's the Federal Building. See these rounded corners? See this rounded tubular-shaped corner of the building? Here. Oh, look at the Federal Building with the rounded tubular-shaped corners. Let me ask you a question. How many buildings in your city right now can you name that have rounded tubular-shaped corners? How many? I can't name one in San Antonio. Can't do it. But right here, there's a Federal Building bombing with these rounded corners, just like the bill. And then there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 long rectangular windows. And right here, even though the floor is blown off, there's 6. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Okay, so you have 6 long rectangular windows going across the end of the building to your rounded corners, and now we have an identical match. Okay, do you think they're telling you about this balloon because they want you to know about the balloon? No, they're front-loading you. So when the comprehensive cyber attack happens, I can go on the beach in my super cool dress. Okay, y'all catching this? All right, I'm sick of their bullshit. It's enough. Okay, so here we go. Now let me show you a couple more things. So let's go ahead and clearly identify, yes, that they've printed the bombing of that nuke going off, taking out Manhattan. There's the bill. There's the $100 bill. I want you to just kind of squint your eyes. See the little smudgy marks? Looks like someone got some water on the paper right here. I can follow the lines. There they are. Follow the lines right there. It looks like water on the paper. See it? Okay, it's all through the image. The reason is there's 3 layers of ink, and here's what those images do. When you start expanding it, there's another layer of ink, and it turns into this. Oh, that looks like the building's being hit by a nuke coming from the background, but let's look at the 3rd layer of ink, because the 3rd layer of ink is going to show you that those buildings are being devoured by a nuke. Okay, now, if you can't see this or you think, oh no, this isn't right, then maybe you fit into Isaiah's prophecy. Okay, I don't know what happened with the program. Maybe it's malfunctioning. I don't know. We'll see. Anyway, here we go again. So I'm under cyber attack, it looks like. Again, I'm going to wrap it up. I love you in Christ. Don't forget what this lunatic said. Don't forget what he said.
planes and tanks and trains. We're going to send in offensive equipment and have the idea that we're going to send in offensive equipment and have planes and tanks and trains going in with American pilots and American crews. Just understand, and don't kid yourself, no matter what you all say. That's called World War III. And today I'm announcing that the United States will be sending 31 Abrams tanks to Ukraine, the equivalent of 1 Ukrainian battalion. The idea that...
So is it safe for me to say, even though my program's malfunctioning, is it safe for me to say that then he might as well have said, hey, I'm announcing World War III based on what he said on 3/11/22? No brainer. But it's printed on your money. So now we know. Mystery solved. Busted. Love you guys. All right, man. I gotta bail because I gotta see if this thing worked.